What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you've been following my channel, you know that since the beginning it's been pretty much about my remote control cars, hence the intro you just saw. But a lot of you may or may not know I'm also into full-size cars. Me and my brother are really into Mustangs, hence the 2019 A10 behind me. This is my second Mustang. He's on his second Mustang. He brought his down to have a little bit of work done to it. I'm gonna show you what we're gonna be doing. All right, so this beauty right here is my brother's 2013 Premium GT. It's a manual car, it's his daily driver, pretty much all around fun car. He brought this car down to me, had a few odd and end things he wanted done. The driver's door had a little creak in it. The windshield washer nozzles were leaking a little bit. He needed some new front tires, so we went and picked him up some new front tires. And today we're actually going to be putting some springs in the back. As you can see, the car is already fairly low. It's sitting on eibach sportlines, front and back. And I believe that's a 1.6 inch drop in the front and a 2 inch drop in the back. So it sits it down pretty level. But the issue that he's having is in the back. The car's a little dirty right now, this is daily driver. But in the back, his tires are actually rubbing on the fender a little bit. It's not bad. These tires have been on here for hundreds of miles, but you can see it touches every now and then. So what he wants to do is we've ordered some BMR springs. These are going to be 1.5 inch drop in the back. We got the part number right here, BMR SP012. The way BMR does theirs, they have a drag set, they have a lowering set, and they have a handling set of springs. Their drag set and their lowering set actually use the same rear spring. It's a 160 pound rate. And the sport lines, I think they go up to 217 pounds, so they're a pretty stiff spring. But what we're gonna do today, we're gonna put these springs in here, hopefully raise it up 1/4 to 1/2 inch, something like that. And let's get started. All right, so we're under the car now. We've got it jacked up on jack stands. We got the rear axle supported with the jack, so we're gonna have to lower that up and down. So you can see in there's one of his rear springs. He's got the Coney orange shocks, and as you can see, we've already got a few BMR pieces in here. He's got the BMR lower control arm and the lower control arm relocation bracket. The relocation bracket's almost a must once you lower these cars, especially 1.5 inch, 2 inch range. Lowering it in the rear throws off the rear geometry by a good bit, and you pretty much don't have any traction anymore. So putting these relocation brackets in helps a ton. So I actually forgot how easy these springs are to change in this car. What we're gonna do is we have a bolt right here holding this shock in. We're going to take that bolt out. We're going to take the bolt out on that side, and then we're going to lower this jack down, and the spring that is up in there is actually just going to fall out. So let's get started. Alright, so the bolt holding this shock in is actually a 15 millimeter. You put a little extension on it, you get right around this sway bar. If not, you can take this top bolt out, swing the sway bar down, get everything out of your way, but we're going to try to do it with the tires on and the sway bar in place. The little clip that Ford puts in there makes life a lot easier. You don't have to put a wrench on the back side and hold it. So we got that side out. Let's get this side. Alright, so we got that one out. We should be able to lower the axle down now. Alright, so there's your rear spring. This is going to be your top isolator. Make sure that always goes back in. And then here's your bottom isolator where it sits on the bottom, where it sits on the axle. We're going to get these pieces cleaned up, take out the other spring, and start putting new ones in. Alright, so here's both springs cleaned up with the new isolators, well, the clean isolators on them. As you can see, the BMR springs here are more of a linear rate than the sport lines. Sport lines are progressive. You get the softer initial spring rate and then the harder spring rate once the softer one compresses. It's supposed to make for a really good ride. That way it still handles well in the corners, but also has a good ride quality. But really, the linear spring is going to be a lot more predictable on the drag strip and the corners, just pretty much all around. So let's put these in. The rear isolator has a little indentation on it. I was trying to line that up with that. That's what took a little bit. Alright, so one thing that I didn't mention is when you put lowering springs in, your bump stop right here is either going to need to be cut or replaced with a shorter one. Since we already had the sport lines in here, we've already got a shorter one, so we're good to go on that. Should be able to just jack it up now and put the shocks back in. right, well there we have it. Got the BMR springs in there. We've cleaned up the shocks a little bit. Got a little dust and dirt off of here. One thing that I forgot to mention was this car has an adjustable panhard bar. Now what the panhard bar does is when you lower or raise the suspension on a solid axle car, when it comes down, it actually doesn't go up and down straight. It goes side to side a little bit. So when you lower it down, your center axle will be off a little bit. Panhard bar, especially an adjustable one, you can dial that suspension in and get it right dead center again, so your tires on the outside of the fender line up straight. Let's pull this thing off the jacks, get it down on the ground, get the springs set in a little bit, probably wash it up. We're gonna get some pictures of it, show you the results. So we just made it back to the garage. I hope you like those clips that I just put in there, the final product. So let's talk about the if it raised it up or not. So it actually didn't raise it up at all. My measurements before and my measurements after are exactly the same. But I think it's going to stop the rubbing issue that he had. The Sportlines have a very, very soft initial rate and then a very hard secondary rate. These BMR springs have a linear rate throughout the whole spring compression. So I think that's going to stop his rubbing issue on the tire. And he actually didn't have to jack it back up any at all. But we're going to be at Mustang Week 2020 this year. We were planning on going last year just like we always do, and that got rained out because of the hurricane. Hopefully that doesn't happen this year. If you see us this year though, we're in the black 13 and the white 19. If you see us, stop us, say hey. I hope you liked this video. If you did, subscribe, hit the like button, and we'll see you next time. Bye.